All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new edition of Naviar Virtual. This is the first episode of 2022. And today I have here with me the electroacoustic duo Rathrobin, Pierre and Beth. Hi, both. It's very good to have you here today with us.
Hi.
Hi, Marco. Hi, Beth.
We have Naviar Records has a new album coming out, which is Ear to the Ground. It's the debut album of Pierre and Beth as Rathrobin. So today we're going to be talking about it as well, but also I want to focus on the artistic journey of both Pierre and Beth, who have quite an interesting story. So the first question I have for you guys is I would like to know more about your artistic career, especially your individual career, and then we're going to be talking about the Rathrobin project. So who wants to start?
Okay, I can start first.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for having us, Marco, and it's a really pleasure for me to see you and to see Beth and to see that Beth is real, because we have been working together for 6 years, and maybe we are two kind of discrete persons, so we never had such conversation, and we didn't see personally during our lifetime. So it's good to see that you are real and not my creation. So yeah, it's quite strange for me to talk about career, because of course music is my main business, but I'm not making money with this. So yeah, but music is something that belongs to me since I was very young, and my mother sent me to private lesson guitar when I was 11. It was a disaster, really disaster. I still remember the teacher face looking at me with the sadness and like this guy is hopeless. But I was not listening to music back then. A couple of years later, I discovered heavy metal. So that was the real turning point in my feeling and perception of music. Of course, this has a great impact. Probably many of our generation has the same story. So so I picked up the guitar again and started to try to do something. So but of course heavy metal was too technical back then, and it was the grunge era. So I started to do Nirvana cover, just like many people. So yeah, so the guitar was my very first instrument, and it went like this for a while, and maybe the things changed a little bit when my music taste changed as well. So it was the post-rock era. So I was fond of Godspeed You Black Emperor, late 19, early 20s, so the cross of the century. And so I basically started to that I wanted to play different instruments and to try myself in the arrangement of the music. So basically, I was aware that I'm not a composer of songs, which I really wanted to be back then. I was not Nick Cave or Leonard Cohen. So I was really aware that maybe I had to focus more on the arrangement of a piece of music. So. Thanks to the Chinese market, I started to collect cello, violin, whatever, drums, anything. So basically, I'm not a musician. I don't have I'm not a real musician with an academic path. I'm a non-musician in a right sense. So I think that now I'm really into piano and cello again. I prefer to the acoustic sound of instrument, and yeah, so I like to dirt my hands in the sound that I wanted to listen, basically, and I want to produce. So That's why it's quite difficult to me to play live outside the main band that I have, which is a more classical band. It's a folk rock band, basically. So it's impossible for me to play a cello outside, or it's very difficult. So I prefer the studio dimension. Of course, I played live quite a lot with the previous band, Morose. We have been in England and France, with Storti Italy. So I also like the live dimension, but basically now I'm more a home musician. So I have many collaboration at the moment. So I like a lot to collaborate. Probably I have some difficulty in the creation process to start. So I'm very happy when people give me a couple of notes and I feel, okay, I can do that. So I'm very happy to have many collaboration. And basically the one with Beth, it was the first one. Yeah, I put my music on SoundCloud, like with the moniker of Belacqua Schwa. And Beth was the first, no, probably the second. The first one was Nicola Fornasari from yes, this different project, and we have a project together now. So, and then we had an album out last year, and so that was the second one, and we are still in touch and we are here. So I'm quite happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my story.
Oh, that's really nice to learn more about your, because yeah, like you say, we haven't really had I think we've probably emailed a lot between 2015 and now, but
yeah, but not even a postcard. We are really bad.
Yeah. So yeah, so I kind of similarly, as a child, I my first instrument, well, kind of my only instrument I've ever really had lessons in is the piano. And I started that quite young. This French teacher, and did that for quite a few years and kind of did kind of half the grades. But then I got to be a teenager and I just decided that wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. But I do remember as a kid, I used to kind of come up with little songs, singing, you know. So yeah, I think, and I haven't really got any musical like family particularly, other than my sister. So my older sister, she's always sung, and I'm 8 years younger than her. So, you know, when I was kind of 10, 11, she was in bands and I'd see her singing. And so I think she influenced me a lot in that way. And then when I was kind of older, teenager, I kind of picked up the guitar and just taught myself a little bit. And then that was kind of when I started doing some live stuff with a friend. So like open mics and, you know, just kind of maybe writing some songs together or covering songs just to get out and do some things in the music scene of where I grew up, which is the Isle of Wight, like this tiny island at the bottom of the UK. And then really, I think music-wise, it changed a lot for me when I moved to Brighton. That was when so a couple of really big things, I guess, happened. I started a degree called Digital Music and Sound Art. So that was kind of where I really became interested in like the electroacoustic, music concrete, that kind of style. And that was when I started doing a lot of live music as well. So I was in a couple of bands. I think in Brighton, once you start performing in bands, you can kind of collect bands. Like I ended up singing in quite a few bands. Sometimes like within the same gig, I would be in I'd be in the two bands that were on the lineup in the same night, which is a bit like intense. But yeah, so I did lots of singing live. That was kind of then my main instrument was my voice. In Brighton, and yeah, and the degree. And then, yeah, and through the degree was kind of when I started becoming interested in that audiovisual stuff. So I think like the teaser trailer for the album, yeah, was when I was studying that I became interested in that kind of experimental, like abstract, the kind of visuals that really work with the sounds and the music. And yeah, I guess I could kind of go into lots of inspiration with that, but I don't know, maybe that's another topic or another question. But yeah, and then as I think is described in the Naviar kind of write-up about the album, I then lived in Finland for a few years and actually sang with a band there, but it wasn't kind of anything live. And then New Zealand, and then now I'm back in the UK, and yeah. So, but I would say the project with Pierre and as Rathrobin, and it's been the kind of like thread that's woven through, you know, been the most, I suppose, kind of consistent music, like long-term music project that I've been in. So yeah, that's kind of
absolutely. Also because we started and then we quit our countries basically after 1 year. So
yeah. It's true, yeah.
So the
yeah,
Rathrobin.
We met through SoundCloud as well, didn't we? Like you say, yeah. So that I think, I don't know, do people use SoundCloud a lot still?
It depends.
Has it gone the way of kind of MySpace, or I don't know? Not so much.
I don't know. Actually, I was reading about it because I personally still use it a lot. But I wanted to find out more about, for example, the younger generation, and the impression that I have is that it's still popular, but younger generations tend not to use it. They tend to use different apps and different channels. The thing is that many artists nowadays use it as a sort of a profile where they can upload something that's unfinished, for example, because Bandcamp basically is the perfect tool when you have something finished and something that you want to publish. But for instance, if you have something that it's a sketch, for example, SoundCloud is still a good platform for that. And I think they still have 250 million users, so it's a lot of people. But yeah, it's this is how it is right now.
I met you on SoundCloud, so you, Marco. I'm referring to you, Marco, not also Beth. So we both are here.
We all met. Well, as a matter of fact, Naviar Records started as a SoundCloud group back in the days when SoundCloud groups were a thing, and now they don't exist anymore. They stopped. I think they closed them down in 2016, and but yeah, we Naviar started as a SoundCloud group,
and it's quite strange because you have also the poetry aspect, so which is that's I was really intrigued because when I was 16, I didn't mention that, but I prefer to consider myself a poet. Of course, I was fond of Rimbaud and Garcia Lorca. Then when I was 18, I quit, luckily, because they were a terrible imitation. But I think that before considering myself a musician, I consider myself a poet. You know, when you're 16 years old and you think the word is yours. So I love this connection of the label Naviar with poetry and sound. So
thank you, thanks a lot. Back in the days when we had the SoundCloud group, I had no way of telling people that the new challenge would start, and so I would change the profile picture of the SoundCloud group with the new poem. It was a funny thing. It's funny to remember it now that things are a bit more structured. But back
Professional.
then, yeah. Well,
Yeah, but
that's
don't you think you because I was thinking about this a little bit, like the kind of limitations of, you know, just limitations in general can sometimes be they can result in you know, like a creative kind of happy accident in some way. So I think sometimes it's quite good to be constrained.
Absolutely, absolutely. A few months ago, I spoke with Jason Richardson. He's a regular participant in Naviar's challenges, and I interviewed him, and he said something. It was a quote. I don't remember who he was quoting, but he said, when you give me a project, give me a deadline. This is all I need. And sometimes sometimes if you have like time constraints or constraints of any kind, it helps. It really does. And I see that also, like on when you make music, for example, if you have all the possible software music instruments in the world, I mean, you tend to get lost. Whereas if you just have a guitar and a recorder, what can you do? You just have to strike a chord and try to come up with something. So sometimes it's a bit easier when you are constrained.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, we weren't time constrained.
I think, yeah. I think now you bet you're the only exception. I ask people, tell me what's the deadline. So for you, it's different because our music is our concept is also based on delayed time. So for us, it's different.
Yeah. I think we'll probably get onto this, but that's kind of, I suppose that's big part of the album is time and place, and that kind of happened naturally, I suppose, just because of what was going on in our lives.
That's actually something that I wanted to ask you about, because well, you also said that to me, but you can also feel it when you listen to the album, to Ear to the Ground, that traveling is a very, very important topic, and it's something that connects the songs within the album, but also connects you as artists and human beings. So Beth briefly mentioned her journey, but what I wanted to ask you is, how do you think this traveling impacted your creativity and also your collaboration as Rathrobin?
So I think for me, the kind of the feel and the concept of the album, like when you're traveling, you're often thinking of home, or what is home, you know, like home changes. Is it just where your family is, or is it just where you know originally were from, or how does like home become a home? And Rathrobin is the name of my childhood home, so it's kind of all tied together. But from my part of the collaboration, a lot of it was kind of a feeling of nostalgia, and I think in terms of traveling, that was just kind of at the forefront of my mind a lot of the time. I think in terms of creating the music, I had what I needed in these places, you know, to, like we were just talking about limitations. My setup is kind of, I don't have tons of options, so I kind of had what worked. So I think it didn't really impact what I could create, but it just impacted how I thought. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah.
I was, I'm discovering you now, because I think we should chat more in the future, if you agree. yeah, quite strange, because when you were in Finland, I was in Singapore. So, and then you moved to New Zealand, and fortunately the word ends there, because, and yes, that's a quite odd feeling, because when you go back home, maybe Marco, you have the same impression. You feel like I'm going home, but when you go back to your new home, it's the same. So I'm going home. So you can have more than one home in your mind. So that was my feeling when I was living in Asia. Technically I went to Asia without any instruments. So for the first year I work on sounds on my laptop, on our music, but yeah, it was quite difficult or quite frustrating to be there without any instrument. But okay, I managed to collect some instrument over there, and I was lucky to have a kind of job that allowed me to play some music in an atelier. Then one time I went back to Italy with some money, and I bought a Mellotron, of course not the real one, a digital. It's a real, but it's a digital. It's not the one with tape. And I took it with me in Singapore, wrapped in a big, huge case, and it was my friend for months. So I started to play again, and so for me, yeah, it was quite difficult to be away without all my stuff, also because I'm not a guitar player only or a piano player only. It depends on the moment. So now I'm playing a lot with piano. So, but next month, who knows? So that's something that that I missed. And traveling, yes, I miss traveling a lot, because basically I'm not traveling. So I'm traveling from Parma to Modena. Parma is my town now, and I work in Modena. So that's my journey. It's quite sad, but yes, I miss a lot. I miss, and yeah, it has had an impact on my life. Of course, my stay in Asia, even Singapore is a kind of European Asia or Western Asia, but it has, if you scratch the surface, it has a lot. Also, all these areas are quite interesting in the Southeast. So I think it's I'm realizing now that it's past, because for a couple of years I was still kind of there, or at least some part of me was still there. Now I'm realizing that it's finished, but it's I don't regret, but it's now it's memories. So we can make an album from this, maybe the next one.
I want to say that it feels kind of like haunting, but it's not in a negative way. But I feel like the memories of, I think it's such an intense experience moving countries. Even just moving house just around the corner like can be quite stressful. But yeah, I think moving to another country is just, everything's different. You one day wake up and you're just in some completely different place. And but yeah, the kind of I now, like you say, now is when I am thinking so much about when I was living in these places. But I wonder also whether that's to do with the fact that like the current world is not so many, like feels like not so many opportunities. So you're thinking a lot more back to when you were doing a lot more. And I don't know, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I think there's probably quite a lot in there to unpack still, like your feelings about living in different places. But it is a funny experience. I've spoken to other people about it as well, because yeah, I think it changes you in lots of ways.
Maybe I'm currently rethinking about traveling. I have this idea of buying a decent bike, and maybe try to travel that way. So with a different medium. So so it's a kind of different than taking a plane and go for 1,000 kilometers, and it's very different. Maybe so. This is a good aspect of this shitty moment.
Yeah,
it's a completely different way of traveling. But what Beth said, it's resonates with me in a way, because I do tend to think a lot about where I used to live, or the last time I traveled, for example. It's been, I think it's been a couple of years since I last was on a plane, and it's quite shocking to think about it. But then again, I think that we all tend to think a lot about our travels or the places where we lived before, because right now it's such a completely different situation that it feels like it's not even a new chapter, it's almost like a new book. And somehow our mind is still is thinking about what happened as something that is in the past. It's not something that is connected to the present anymore. Because if we were still traveling, I don't know, maybe, for example, if you lived in Singapore, then you moved back to Parma, and then you would go somewhere else, you would think about it as a sort of a continuum, and it wouldn't feel like it's something that ended. But now it's over in a way, because we're not really moving anymore that much.
Absolutely. Also, the perception of moving, of traveling, it's has changed.
Yes. But I did pick up the bike as well. I'm traveling around by bike as well. It's not bad, really. It helps discover new places not far from where you live, and there can be surprises in this way as well.
You know what? You're lucky, because I made this decision shortly before, but it's impossible to find a bike now. So the market is crazy because of the situation. So it's really frustrating, because I don't have many ideas. When I have one, I want absolutely that thing. It's impossible to put my hands on a bike. So I have to play music again for a while. So.
That's okay. It's not.
No, that's not bad. It's not that bad. Yeah,
it could be much worse than that.
Of course, absolutely.
Speaking of music, so I would like to ask you a little bit more about the creative process behind Ear to the Ground, the album that Naviar will publish. So, well, we did mention already that one of the main concepts is traveling, and the theme of memory. I would like to know a little bit more about how you created this album, because, like you said before, this is the first time that you see each other face to face, as far as I understand. So you collaborated remotely and on SoundCloud mostly. But I would like to know a little bit more about how you created it, and the process in general.
Okay. I go first, Beth? Can
I? Yeah.
Okay. Because I was the first to contact you.
Yeah, so you are, yeah.
I found the music on SoundCloud. I said, no, quite good. And it was the very first time for me on SoundCloud. I said, okay, there's the envelope. I sent a message to Beth, and she was very friendly with me. And we started basically immediately to collaborate. So I'm not sure, but I think I sent you Ear to the Ground for was the first track that I sent you. A very simple loop of cello, and said, okay, let's see what happened. So that was the very beginning. So the title of the album is also it's a beautiful name, but it's also very symbolic, because it's the very first stone that we put. Basically, I'm a punk musician that plays cello, so I don't have a structure in my mind. I basically and So we didn't say, okay, let's do this or that. We have always had a complete freedom. So, and the most part of the music, it belongs to that period. So 2015, 2016, before that we both left. Then one day I found on SoundCloud, Beth didn't mention, there was a beautiful song and where Beth, she was singing. Of course, she uses voices and her voice in different songs, but not a real singing. And I said, oh, and I sent immediately an email, say, Beth, you didn't mention that. It's a beautiful song, and yeah, I'd like to explore this aspect maybe in the future, something more song oriented. So yeah, so some other tracks was Pat that sent me rough material, and I put some cello or lately more electronic stuff, or the other way. So basically, it's a very free collaboration, I think. What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I would say it felt really, I don't know, maybe it's a cliche or it sounds a bit cheesy, but it was really kind of natural process. I never felt like any kind of tugging, you know, or like really any kind of negative tension in any way. Like it just felt like was a real, it just flowed, you know, like you say, one of us would send something to the other and we might add or adapt or, you know, shape it in a different way. And then that's just how it went back and forth like that for years. And yeah, I think it kind of a serendipitous type like meeting really on SoundCloud that we, you know, how often do you meet somebody that you can kind of collaborate with in such a personal thing, creating something, isn't it? Like if you anything kind of creative, artistic, it's such a personal thing. So I think to be able to collaborate with someone that online especially, or maybe that's part of it, I don't know. I mean, I've kind of collaborated with people in person before in bands and things, but yeah, I don't know, this is just quite a special project, I think, in that way. Just it grew in its own way. It felt like we were contributing to this thing that just was always going to exist. Yeah.
One interesting aspect is that since your collaboration started years ago, this project had the time to develop naturally and gradually. So you didn't have when we were talking about deadlines before, even the fact that sometimes when you don't have a deadline and you allow things to just take their own time, it's just as enjoyable, I think, and it really grows within you to this creative process. And it's also very interesting the fact that, okay, maybe nowadays online collaborations are more common, but actually you started collaborating back in 2015 when it was less common to collaborate online with an artist you never met before.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually. It was kind of yeah, it must be quite commonplace now, but it's more unusual then.
Yeah, no, go on, Marco. No, it's okay.
No, I just wanted to clarify something for the for someone who might be listening to this video. So because someone might think that actually that Pierre was the one creating the soundscapes and Beth was the one who was adding the vocals to it, but my understanding is that the creative process was more mixed. So Beth, you were more involved in the creation of the soundscape as well. Am I right?
Yeah, I think we I would say if there was kind of any like in balance, or like more one than the other. Than Pierre perhaps is more instrumental, kind of contributing more of that kind of the instrumental stuff. But yeah, I think we both contributed to the soundscape. There's that element, and then the vocals as well. But it was quite kind of shared in that sense. But I was thinking, actually, as you were talking about, as we were, well, I don't know when I was thinking it, but I think that in some ways the challenge for us was probably to try and make sure that the album felt like it was one thing, because it was over such a long period of time. Maybe that was a little bit of a, something that we had to think about, because also with the amount of like different places we were living, and you kind of change, yourself in different ways. You're inspired by different things, and so I think that was something I thought about a little bit. Maybe naturally after a couple of years you might attempt to do something really different, but it was important to make sure it felt still like a cohesive project.
I have the impression that's just my impression that that it's something that belongs. Okay, the final work is really into the moment, because we basically finished it on Christmas time, but the bones were still the same in 2015. So usually when I play or when I do something, I'm kind of bored after 2 days. In this case, it's quite fresh to my ears, and I don't know if you both have the same impression. There are some track that when you usually when you have an album out, you are so tired of the sound that you have heard for months, that usually you can't listen to your product for ages. In this case, I have this bizarre feeling that is still quite fresh. I don't know why, because probably because we left it. You can like the wine. It has slept for a while, but not completely. Was not completely sleeping. Sometimes we put something on. So it's kind of new and old at the same time.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense really. You'd think after this amount of time you would maybe be tired of it, but I think what contributes to that is that it's so layered as well. Like I think all the tracks, they don't really feel linear as well. Like they feel like they're kind of just a kind of a real collection of just things in their own right. Like they're not just a song that you would play from start to finish. You could kind of listen to it in maybe a different way. But yeah, I know what you mean about them still feeling kind of fresh, and that's nice. I think I can always kind of hear different things when I listen as well. And then when you listen with headphones versus listening, out speakers, or depends where you are as well.
Yeah, that's the big deal, the big drama with the home recording. So usually they sound so different. In these cases, I think I hope the result in this case is quite good. So I think so. It's not bad. I have friends say, "Oh, nice sound this time." I'm still the same. So who knows?
Nice. I have one last question for you guys. We talked a lot about the past, about the obviously the album that's coming out with on Naviar. I would also like to know a little bit about your future projects or future plans, both as Rathrobin and as individual artists. So if you have something coming out, if you have albums or gigs or any other project, and if you would like Naviar's audience to know about them.
Oh, Pierre, I think you have more going on than I have, so you go.
I don't know. Okay, yeah, I'm the star at the moment. I'm quite surprised because I have many projects going on at the moment. I normally am a kind of secluded musician, but it seems that people have found me in my shelter. Yes, I have a couple of albums out at the moment. I had one last year that I mentioned before with Nicola, That Which Is Not. I'm very proud of it. And one is a good friend of mine from Naples, and it's a solo project, but it's kind of a collective now. There are many people involved, some Italian, some friends, and some international star like Paul Jenkins from Black Heart Procession, and the member from Hood. And I have it here. Can I do some promotion now?
Of course.
This is the album.
Mm-hmm.
It's named Lebenswelt, Unspoken Words. It's a beautiful, beautiful album. I collaborated with Gianpaolo a few times before, so I'm very happy to be involved again in this project. And the other one is a film director and also musician from London. It's called Luke Seymour. I'm not sure if I spell it rightly. He found me on SoundCloud, so SoundCloud is always present. And he has a new album out now, and just recently did a video, a beautiful video, one of the songs I'm involved into. The name is Cactus. Yes, and I have other projects going on at the moment, so I'm quite busy. Yes, I'm happy because I don't have to think about doing my personal stuff. At the same time, I postpone again doing my personal stuff. So yeah, so that's this ambiguity in this situation. So one day people will leave me alone, and I will ride my bike maybe this time. That time.
That's great. That's great. I mean, I'm really happy to hear that you are keeping yourself so busy, and that also that there is a community involved as well. That it's good for artists who work in the field of ambient electronic music. Sometimes they struggle because obviously we have fewer opportunities to perform live and or collaborate, and obviously we don't really have rehearsals like classical musicians or rock musicians, so everything is a bit different for electronic producers in general. So it's good to know that this kind of communities help connect people even when there is no possibility to connect, obviously meet face to face.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
you can still create something. You can still be artistically active.
Yeah, I think Marco, that in this case, the COVID social distance has improved this aspect, at least from my point of view. So when I was locked in my apartment for months, I played more music basically, and I was connected more. I started to connect it with more people as possible, with musicians and people that I feel close to me. So this, it's. I think it's a good. There's something good in this crazy time. So this is one of the aspects. Of course, playing live is still. It's again like traveling a memory. So at the moment. I have kind of zero opportunities of playing live again, even if my friend in the Morosa and the band and the Italian band, we are trying to start again, kind of like kind of phoenix to reborn again, but it's really, really, really difficult. At least in Italy, I don't know the situation in England, but here it's really a drama.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't even thought about the idea of performing live again and whether that would, when that would happen. But I only just kind of moved back from, well, actually it was about 9 months ago now, but it still feels quite recent. Back from New Zealand, back to the UK from New Zealand. And I'm actually kind of quite far away from the people that I used to collaborate with, live in Brighton. But yeah, I've there's kind of just a short 2 kind of singles that have been released with a friend of mine called Kate Gerard. I used to sing with her in a band called the Delta Bell. But yeah, really quite quiet music wise, other than Into the Ground kind of continued. Yeah, music's been quite quiet for me over COVID time, I would say. But then I think for me throughout my life, it's been like that anyway, the kind of, you know, there's periods where I'm not so active musically, and then others where that's all I'm doing, it feels like. So yeah, hopefully it's crossed my mind to kind of maybe try and do some live music again, but then I just think about the logistics. I'm not sure how that would work right now.
Yeah, a Rathrobin gig in London, maybe.
Yeah.
Or in Italy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
No, I'm joking, but I think I
would
thought
be,
about it. It would be really good.
You've mentioned it before, and it.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah, once before I think you said, you know, maybe we could play live once, and I was thinking, yeah, like,
yeah, probably I was drunk.
Yeah.
Well, now that you mention it, let's see if I can do something about it.
Yeah,
wow, would be
really
great.
think how, yeah.
All right, okay, leave that to me. I'll see what I can do.
Perfect.
Beth,
you are the joint venture between Italy and England and Britain, so we are still connected. So
something that you said, Beth, I think you just moved back basically 9 months. 9 months is really not a long time if you think about it, and I don't know, we are all different, but for me, for example, it's very difficult to make music when basically I make music when I'm relaxed, when I have my own environment, my own space, my own time. You know, obviously there are people who can make music at all times and they don't have any problems with any kind of constraints or difficulties, but I imagine that moving from New Zealand back to England has it takes time to settle down again,
yeah,
also on
to
a
feel
psychological
settled.
level.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I think, I mean, for the first few months we were kind of living in different places anyway, so we've only really, you know, been living in one place for a little while. And yeah, I think, yeah, it takes you a while to, I agree actually, yeah, I need to feel settled and kind of at ease to start thinking creatively. But yeah, I mean, who knows why sometimes you feel like you want to make things and other times you don't. It's a strange kind of, just comes to you sometimes, like, oh, I really feel quite creative, I want to. But I think there's like a balance between absorbing things and then your output, like you kind of take things in, maybe you're listening or watching lots of things and that's kind of inspiring, and then you think, oh well, I want to contribute to that.
Yes,
so it's kind of a balance there.
Yes, indeed there is. All right, guys. This is the end of my interview. I don't have any other questions for you. Well, before we started the conversation, I said we were going to have 20-30 minute conversation. I think we went way beyond that, but it's it's great. It was really a fantastic conversation and very inspiring. And I will be now. I prepared a music mix with some of the tracks from the upcoming album, Ear to the Ground, plus some tracks from Pierre and Beth's other projects, personal projects, and I hope you will like it. And Pierre and Beth, thank you very much for your time. Really, I really appreciated it. And Ear to the Ground is a fantastic album. I'm super happy that it's part of Naviar's discography. And that's it. And thank you very much for your time again.
Same here, Marco. really.
Lifted off of the sea, and I carry those feelings. What are you doing? They'll ask me. Should I know these things? Should I know these things? And the truth is, y'all never know these things. And the truth is, wind danced in currents through the trees. So crystallines lead me. Where are you going? They'll ask me. Should I know these things? Should I know these things? And the truth is, y'all never know these things. And the truth is, limbs rising up through the leaves. You'll find waves and gleaming. Why are you going? They'll ask me. 'Cause I don't know these things, and we never know these things. And the truth is, we'll never know these things. And the truth is, we'll never know these things. baby, and it's alright.